from the flight deck crew. Well, almost from the flight deck. We're going to get there. It's time to take this plane to annual and swap it out with the other 182. Got a couple interesting stories behind each of them. The short of it is, I've had this thing for, we've had this thing for 20 years. Picked this up in 2004 from East Troy, Wisconsin. And the plane we're going to swap it with while this one's down for annual, we picked up the same year. Actually had that one delivered from San Diego, if I remember right. A couple interesting stories for each one. And we have to do a little pre-flight, grab some fuel, and head on our way. So sit back, relax, enjoy the flight. Clear. Okay, folks, from the flight deck, and somewhat annoyed because I updated the phone to an iPhone 16. Actually dropped a kettlebell on my old 12, and now all the audio that I had set up no longer works. Hopefully this is going to work, but you're not going to be able to hear the controllers. I liked the way I had it, where you could hear a little bit of the plane noise, the wheels touching down, the activation of the flaps and gear on the jets and stuff, and still hear the voice in the radio. Well, now, thank you, Apple, for not letting us use the mic, the port at the bottom as a mic port, unless it's very specific. Anyway, quite annoying, so I have to get that figured out. So hopefully this works, and you can hear me. You won't be able to hear the radio, but I'm VFR heading south, so there's not a whole lot going on. It's a beautiful day. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute, or a video. But yeah, so we're taking this plane down to annual. I'll swap it out with another one. And that's the biggie. I have been flying this plane on a little bit off, but really had it, picked it up 20 years ago, 2004. It's 2024 right now. I picked it up from East Troy, Wisconsin, out of a hangar in the winter. Guy had a P-51 he was working on, and this thing didn't have wheel pants on it, but they were in the back. And that was the first time I had to ask, why are the wheel pants in the back and not on the plane? Well, it's winter up north in Wisconsin. Snow, ice, all that builds up in the wheel pants, freezes the wheels, so they have to take them off. Being from south, something I didn't know, learned at that point, and have known ever since then. So hopefully this recording's working. I'm going back and forth looking at that. Yeah, so 20 years flying this plane. This particular plane and I have been to almost every state in the contiguous U.S. I think I lack, it's been a while since I've added up, but I think I lack about 7, maybe 6, something like that. Mainly up in the far northeast in this one. States I've been to, but not in this particular plane. I've gone back and forth from California down to Miami. I flew 3,400 square miles, contiguous miles in Wyoming. I've flown sides of mountains and just kind of all over the place. This bird and I have had a great journey. This is our third engine on it so far, and not because of engine troubles or anything, just because of putting so much time on them. We got the time close to TBO. We never really actually go over TBO in these. Get close to TBO, change the engines. Just kind of fortunate to be able to do it that way. And so it's the third engine. We've updated the panel twice. Of course, we did it back in 06, I believe. Put a Garmin 430 WAS in. And then, of course, in 2020, that update we had to do for the ASB. Put new audio panels, new radios, just kind of gussied up that a little bit. Not so much the instrument panel. That's still quite non-standard and old, but it's served me well all over this great country. So this has been a great plane that I picked up 20 years ago. So I want to ask, I know my road, what my path has been for the last 20 years. I've never had my sights glued on one particular thing. Oh, I want to go to the airlines. I flew at the regionals. I quit. I did corporate. I have run my own business. I'm back at a major airline now, flying an Airbus. So I asked, where are you going to be in 20 years? What is your road going to look like 20 years from now? What's your aviation path? What's your life path? You know, that's a more grandiose question. But in aviation, do you know what you're looking for? Which is fine, which is great. If you know exactly where you want to be, that's awesome. I've never had that. My goal in aviation has always been the experience, whether it's tailwind time, aerobatic time, flying a 182 across the country, upgrade to 210, hopping in some small twins, jet, the various airline experience. Just the experience for the experience sake is what I have always enjoyed and looked forward to. I mean, I remember those first trips from the Mid-South heading out to California, pulling the sectionals out in the hotel rooms and drawing lines and mapping out where I was going. Absolutely awesome. Love that excitement of a new trip. The first time flying to Aspen, the first time flying to islands, the first time flying in the mountains, and just, you know, back in the day, like the first time I went to California and flew through the San Joaquin Valley, and to Tehachapi Pass to get in there, I called a bunch of airports and talked to the locals and figure out, you know, how they operate, what do they do different, things I haven't done. So it's been, for me, a very fortunate road, not quite, like I said, not directed in one particular path, but for me that worked really well. So as I sit in this plane after 20 years, and I'll add it up in because I had to update a electronic logbook to do the airline thing. I'll see how much time, and I'll put it on the screen, see how much time I have in this one, but it's probably 3,000 hours or so in this one plane alone. So we have had a fun trip, and I ask, in 20 years, where are you going to be? What's your aviation road? Let me know down below. So we're going to continue this flight. We're going to land and swap planes, and that other plane I picked up 20 years ago as well. Don't have as much time in it because this was kind of my baby. But do have some pretty cool stories in it, and we will catch you down the road. I'm gonna get going.
tied down, ready to kind of trade off for annual. We're gonna go in the hangar over here and pull out the other one, head back. Good plane, good plane. Needs paint job, but good plane. All right, crew, this is the backup plane. It's already walked around, fueled. Just got to pull it out of the hangar and get moving. This is a 1963 that, again, 20 years ago, started flying. So let's get moving.
Alright, now we're in the on the return flight. Just dropped that one off from maintenance and got in our loaner. Actually, I mean, like I said, I've been flying this thing for 20 years. And this plane was delivered to us from San Diego, and a mechanic came and delivered, and I actually drove him home in an old truck that I still have to the airport so he can catch his flight back. And my truck engine, the water lines blew up. I had changed the radiator hose, and it wasn't a good seal, and it blew up on the way up. So that guy had an interesting trip bringing us this plane. And then through the years, I flew this thing, kind of still flew it all over. This plane, this old red 63-182, was actually the first, I think, it was either this one or 3358 uniform, which was a yellow one. I'd have to look back, but this one I took out many times, definitely, but it might have been the first plane I ever flew from here out to California, out into the San Joaquin Valley. I used to do that, I don't know, a couple times a year, a dozen times a year, just depending on what the needs were and what was happening, but back and forth. And I know I took this one out there. Now that I'm saying it, I'm thinking maybe it was 3358 uniform, but I'll say it this way. When that company ended and I kind of had to bring everything back home, go pick up all of our equipment, shut down shop, so to speak, this was the last plane that I flew back from California in that capacity on those trips. So yeah, it's been through quite a bit. This was always the fastest plane of the 182s. We have 5 182s, a 210 turbo that I flew for about 1,000 hours. But this, of the 182s, of the old 182s, this was the fastest, the ugliest, and the least that anybody liked to fly. The stack that was in it, the radio stack, was old and unreliable. Everything passed IFR, but you wouldn't have got me flying IFR in it. It was a VFR plane, and this was all back before GPS and a lot of stuff. But now it's got the 2020 update, new radios, a 650 in it, not a new audio panel on this one. We put the audio panel on the other one. But it's been a good plane. It really has. And today, like the trip down in the other plane was gorgeous, was smooth. But I don't know if you can tell from the camera, I'm holding it with my hand. And I'm just getting beat up, moved around. The cold front passed through, cool front. It is a little nicer weather. But that stronger, colder air is kind of blowing me around a little bit. So we'll finish this flight, and yeah, that plane will get done for maintenance, and then I go back on reserve for Friday and Crawford for a trip, and hopefully I'll get that, and then have to swap these later. So yeah, that is that. All right, crew. Well, hope you enjoyed this quick out back. We'll end it with the landing back into DeWitt, Spain. Should be fun. This one's always Always a little more interesting. I've made some good ones and some bad ones. I guess that's always the case. Still working on my landings. Yeah, so if you like these, let me know down in the comments if there's something you want to see now that I'm kind of in transition and now that I have a little bit of time to get back to trying to do some of these. 182 stuff is definitely available, so if there's something in particular you'd like to see or maybe I could help, which is the goal that I want to try to fill, let me know in the comments below and we'll do what we can. If you like this, feel like it, give me a thumbs up, a follow. All the good stuff, if you feel like doing it, I'd much appreciate it. In the meantime, fly safe. And yeah, think about where you might be in 20 years, because it goes fast. It goes fast. 20 years. Enjoy. Alright, so I'm about to turn downwind and enter the pattern. Off the 45 here, the wind's blowing us south, so it's pretty strong. Now, so maybe I've got the audio fixed to be able to record the radio and all. We'll see. I kind of played around and found a complicated, convoluted, but potential solution. So maybe it'll work. I'll find out after I land. Left's clear, downwind, crosswind. Haven't heard anybody in the pattern. Don't see anybody. Main traffic. LA. Okay. Left downwind. 354. Top left finish. Gas is on. Good. Just bolted. Mission Ridge. Props to go. Pumps don't have hooked up. Lights are on. Already have the power reduced. 18 inches in this plane, just to kind of keep it slowed up for traffic pattern altitude and make everything work out hopefully pretty well. Beam. Landing point numbers there. And full pressure out, RP out, white arc, 10 degrees of flaps. Remember, we are being blown south fairly decently. I'm going to initiate a descent here. Make that turn. Base. Hey, traffic. Plan crew and Yankee. Infamous radio static for some reason every time. A little bit of power out, a little bit of trim in, and 10 more degrees of flats, make it 20 that. Nose up. And slowest, 90 miles an hour. Long final straight ahead, short final all appear to be clear. Hadn't seen anybody, hadn't heard anybody. Glide path, but fast. Direct in on speed, try to maintain glide path. Around this turn out and land quartering. Peace. Oh, it feels weird. Settling. Fly it down. I'm going to wind up eating up a lot of runway here, but looking all the way down the runway like we've talked in the past. That crosswind in. Way to max. Nice smooth landing. Too much runway for what I normally use. Still getting back used to these things being slow and low and all the difference between this and the Airbus. But for me, hope you enjoyed it. We will catch you on the next one. Fly safe.
is clear. And Freeman Yankee, with